everybody. Oh, am I on? Good, okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome this morning we're doing an all-day symposium on the intersection of crypto and AI. We called it 0x AI, and I know the developers amongst us know that you need octodecimal for that to work, but hopefully you'll forgive us for that. But one of the things that, for me, has been really, really fascinating about this has been when we think about history, and when we think about how technology has done incredibly well in history, often it's at the intersection of two different trends. Like one of the biggest technology revolutions that we've had in the last 20, 30 years, of course, was the advent of the internet, which led to Web 1. But if you think about it, the internet existed long before it exploded onto the scene. And it was the intersection of the internet. It was the intersection of TCP/IP and then the formation of the web server and HTTP protocol, along with cheap and available broadband, is really when it took off. Both of these things had kind of been available and had kind of been evolving separately, but at the intersection is when the revolution and when the magic really happened. And I'm seeing a very similar trend now with AI on the one hand and with blockchain on the other hand. And can we have that same kind of intersection between the two of these? And can these generate that new revolution? And there's a joke in the tech industry, and you've probably all heard of it, that, let's be honest, big tech doesn't get anything right until version 3, right? Remember Windows, right? Windows didn't really work until version 3. iPhone didn't really work until version 3. We're here today because we believe the web isn't really working until version 3. And AI, of course, I see AI today as being at version 2, where the first wave of AI, the ability to be able to create deep neural networks cheaply and easily, was version 1. And then ChatGPT came along last year and brought about the revolution of generative AI, which I see as being version 2, but we're not going to get it right until version 3. And these are some of the things that I think we're going to be discussing today. I hope we can have some interesting and vibrant discussions, and we'll just have a whole lot of fun doing it. So I'm Lawrence from Google, and Alison is going to be joining us, also from the Foresight Institute. Alison.
Yeah, thanks, Lawrence. It was really, really fun, kind of in the wake of this, to just kind of place all the different panels. You definitely have a few really, really interesting highlights, I think, up in place. I basically come to this kind of topic because at Foresight we work at the intersection of undervalued technologies. AI has obviously always been a field of ours of interest, but we also had a big overlap with the cypherpunk community. And one person in particular, Mark Miller, wrote this thesis, the Agoric Open Systems papers, over 30 years ago, where he lays out these futures in which AIs and humans can cooperate using these decentralized marketplaces long before blockchain and smart contracts were really a thing. And so I think it's really interesting to think about this intersection in a little bit more of a loose way than perhaps we usually used to. And I think who here knows I think it was Peter Thiel who said it, crypto's libertarian, AI is communist. I'm not sure if you got that phrase. And I think we actually have now some time to reframe that, right? Because there's actually a lot of promise at the intersection, as you already pointed out. And so I'm really, really excited to deep dive into what that could mean. I think that could mean that crypto can perhaps help really secure AI, make it safer, but it could also mean unleashing a fury of novel applications that just haven't been possible in AI before crypto, and especially some privacy-preserving stuff perhaps there. And I'm super, super excited to hear about all of the talks that will focus on kind of both ends of the spectrum. And we have a few really, really exciting speakers here. I think anything from evaluating the kind of signal in the noise to some art panels, and then I think we can hopefully close it out and just kind of see what this kind of new intersection is shaping up to be. And I think it would be wonderful if after this, perhaps we have some kind of 3 at least points that we were a little bit clearer on. The first one would be really what are AI superpowers? What are crypto superpowers? Then second, where do they meet and where do they really not meet? What's perhaps more hypey than where there's a real there? And then thirdly, I think it would be really interesting to also time order developments a little bit. You're going to hear a lot of potential applications and opportunities, and it would be interesting, I think, to think about okay, what's really what can we achieve in the in the here and now very soon versus what's perhaps a little bit future out. And I think we're really going to hear about all of these in bits and pieces. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. And yesterday, who attended the panel or the fireside chat between Eric Schmidt and Sergey? Okay, yeah, most.
Wow, that's good.
Wasn't that incredible, right? So that was one of the things that was that to me was mind-blowing, where it's, in some ways seeing the problem from each side, right? Sergey was saying, well, blockchain should be calling AI, and Eric was saying, no, AI should be calling blockchain. And of course, the truth is we're probably going to be trying to do a little bit of each. And I think it was a great time to see that the conversation is just really beginning, and we're all here at day 0 of that conversation. And one of the things that Eric was particularly passionate about that really blew my mind was when he was talking about how large language models are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we have a joke inside Google where a small large language model, we call it a jumbo shrimp. So like, because of the contradicting phrasing. But if you can imagine like when jumbo shrimp are getting into the hands of people, and Eric was like talking about the scenario of like, well, so one person now able to run a large language model on their laptop could start generating enough information and scaling that out through social media to, in an election year in the US, and there's elections around the country, elections around the world, like next year, but big one coming for us. And it was like, wow, the power that can be in the hands of one individual to be able to create information that's not trusted. Wouldn't it be really nice if we could then be able to trust and verify information that we're reading? And the low-hanging fruit is right there to be able to build solutions. And these are the types of conversations and the types of tooling that we should be building. And these are the things where I'm here to learn from you as much as hopefully I'm able to help you learn from some of the stuff that we're doing. And it's just a really exciting time to be doing this.
Yeah, maybe it's actually really fun to do a show of hands about who's working on crypto, AI versus at the intersection already, just to get like a read of the room, perhaps before we start. Who's working on crypto? Hands up. I'm not surprised
Slightly biased question.
Not surprised about that one. Who's working on AI? Okay,
wow, still quite
and
a few.
who's working at the intersection? So if you've raised your hand for the last two, you should now be raising your hand. Okay, very, very cool. Well, so we have a few people at the intersection, so I'm hoping that they can maybe hold your hand a little bit through this. And I actually do think that this is perhaps one of the first real symposiums on AI, like at SmartCon, and I don't think it will be the last one. I think from now on, like an AI track will pretty much be like a kind of recurring thing at like major crypto conferences, because I think we're just starting to really uncover many of the emerging opportunities. And so I'm really excited for kind of like this very new era that we can all explore together. And I really want to also kind of like encourage you guys to also be pretty honest about like what are perhaps opportunities that are too far away yet. Like what can we build right now where crypto really has a competitive advantage, right? And I think those, if we can lean into those, then I think we will be able to make progress much faster also on the longer leaning stuff.
Yeah, I came away from the Sergey's keynote yesterday and the fireside chat that he had with Eric, wanting to get my coding fingers going on building like, just something for like, taking data from something like Snopes, right? True or false, is this true? Is this a rumor? That kind of thing. And being able to build a classifier for that and then make that an oracle. Right, so then this is the kind of service that could be trusted. This is the kind of thing that if somebody was going to be building a misinformation machine or bots for misinformation, you wouldn't trust the service that was written by me, or you wouldn't trust the service that was written by anybody if it's not running on chain. When it is on chain and you can see the data that was used and you can maybe see the architecture that was used and some of the things that, that have been fed into this AI and how it was trained. And if you can even see the tokenizer, those of you who are familiar with natural language processing, that's a way of hacking a large language model or making something appear false, which was actually true. And being able to do all of this and work on these kind of things openly on chain. So I came away from yesterday like, oh no, I got to start coding. And hopefully many of you are working in that space already, and maybe I can learn from you too.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, are we ready for the first speaker, you guys? Okay, we are. Good. I'm very happy to hear. So first one up, I would love to welcome Ari to the stage. Ari Jules is not only the chief scientist at Chainlink, but also Cornell professor, where he focuses on blockchains, cryptocurrency, smart contracts, as well as applied cryptography, user authentication, and privacy. That is quite the mouthful. Thank you so much for coming today to discuss AI and blockchain oracles. Thank you a lot.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ari.